Cyborg, once again joined by temporary username, and we're going to go ahead and do, what is this, issue 10 we're on? Damn, we're flying through this, and yeah, we're heading with issue 10 of the whole Injustice series. So if you haven't seen the previous videos, go check them out. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're going to be continually putting out good content, not just this series, every single day, of course, but each week we're putting out the Nethercast leading up to the game, and plenty of other news and coverage and reaction videos and all that crazy stuff, so as well as gaming streams and all that fun stuff, as I say. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, because we seem to have downvoters, so we want to make sure we can fight those off. But anyways, let's jump into issue number 10 before I plug any more crap. So right away, we're picking up right where we left off, and we have Damian casting the fear into everyone that, you know, his father would do this. It's not above, you know, it's not below his father or above his father or whatever you want to call it to, for Batman to, you know, kind of betray everyone like that and send in a spy and do all that type of stuff. Everyone's kind of like up in arms about it. Well, Damian's basically just saying, no, you know, you don't know him like I know him, and I hardly know him as it is, and no, he would do this. So anyways, then we lead to a pretty rough moment, and that is Superman's upset because obviously he's been duped. Batman essentially kidnapped Hawkgirl and sent in a spy this whole time, in Martian Manhunter, as we found out last time. So Superman takes it upon himself and says, you know what? Fine. Then let's take away his anonymous nature of his secret identity. Anonymity. The great white ninny. Okay. So he gives up Batman's identity. At least he tries to. He's essentially in Times Square on the jumbo screen, and he's broadcasting from the Watchtower, and he's on like every single screen, and he says, you know what, Batman is like, he's just about to say who Batman is, and then Batman's like, oh crap. He's like, Protocol Icarus in place, and of course he's ready for something like this to happen because Batman's always prepared. That's one of the cool things about Batman. Also, one of the things people obviously bust his balls over is that he's prepared for everything. That's the writing that he has. Either way, of course, he would be, out of all things, this should be one thing he is prepared for if this were ever to be the case. So he is prepared for it. It's called Protocol Icarus. Presses one little button, just kills the feed coming from the Watchtower, just immediately disrupts it, so it just goes to static. This is where it gets a little weird, folks. Not gonna lie, it gets a little bit odd for a comic book, but this is a modern comic book, so Damian's like, no, we can't just let him win. Man, Damian is going in hard on his father. Man, we laughed. Yeah, this is rough. We last left off with, I mean, he killed Dick. I mean, what is he so you left me at Ark? Screw you, buddy.
Yeah.
You caused Dick to die, and yes, it was an accident, but still, that was on you. And you almost killed Alfred, too. So you have problems. You turn your back on your father turns his back on, whatever. Either way, he is just selling out Batman hard here. He does not accept this resolution here. He wants his identity gone, apparently, or to be given up, because he's like, no, Lex, you're the smartest man in the world. Cyborg, you're a living computer.
Which is awful, by the way. That is a horrible way to, like, demean Cyborg, in my opinion. Like, that's... Talking about treating someone as a means to an end, but yeah.
But yes, so he's just like, you two, figure it out. And Damian's pulling strings over here. Him and Wonder Woman could be a nasty little duo. Just string pullers. But anyways, so he gets them to figure something out, and they decide, hey, let's do it through social media. So I don't know if Superman had an account already. I would assume so. He had like a Facebook account, is what we're led to believe, a Facebook or a Twitter. Anyways, Superman just tweets out or posts or whatever that Batman is Bruce Wayne. It goes from like 0 retweets or shares or whatever to like 2 million in less than a minute. It's just a crazy fast response. Using social media, I mean, it makes sense in this modern time, but what a crappy way to, not like the writers. I'm not like insulting the writers. I'm saying for like in this universe, like
Oh yeah, no,
what a
it's
crappy
tragic.
way to have your identity just like completely put out there as just social media. Because I put down here, once they did this and how they did that, that I feel like we've reached that point of no return. Superman's done some things and they've had their spat between them, but Superman killing people, I think Batman could forgive if he, went down the straight and narrow going forward and they found some compromise after they talked it out. But he just sold out Batman's secret identity, which is huge for him, just like Peter Parker. And, he's one of the ones that's super, super, no pun intended, protective of his secret identity and has been for many, many years, obviously.
Well, it's also the same as killing people. I mean, giving away Bruce Wayne's identity is the same as killing people because Bruce Wayne is what protects Gotham. So now the Batman can't function. Now Gotham has lost its shield. It's no longer secure. There is no Batman protecting people from the alleyways, from just the dark depths of the city. And now, like, if I was a gangler in Gotham, I would be ecstatic right now. Like Superman did a lot of damage by doing that. It's awful. It's horrible for the character. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just, to me, that was so low. I thought that was a very low point for Superman. Killing the Joker, you completely understand. Killing the drones, once again, understandable. Beating the kid down, in front of everyone, that was a low moment. But this, taking Atlantis and bullying him, that was a low moment. But this, like, you can't put that toothpaste back in the container. This is that point of no return where even if they make amends, there you can't this is that point where it's just like you done effed up. This is where you're in a fight in your relationship and you cheat on the person. You can't you just took a situation that was already crappy and you just escalated it to a point where now it's like, yeah, I feel like they've crossed that line now with this action right here, and I don't see it coming back. Obviously, we know kind of a general idea of what happens going down the line. We don't know the details of how we get there, but we know the end result. But man, whew, that's bad. I was definitely
Yeah.
shocked by that.
I mean, he killed. If nothing else, he killed Batman. Batman's dead. Like at this point, I kind of even wonder why Batman wears the cowl in the story mode of Injustice. I'm like, it's like why not reinvent yourself? There's no point. Batman as a symbol is gone now.
Sure.
Like you said, no turning back. The chicken powder has hit the boiling water. You're now
Yeah.
committed to the bowl of ramen. So that's where
Yeah.
they're at.
We got all these metaphors. Toothpaste, ramen. Anyways.
But yes,
Okay,
I
so then we
agree.
leave off with this chapter with Alfred basically giving him a note of everything to take from the manor so he can escape quickly. And I just put here that I love that Alfred always has his back, but I'm afraid for Alfred's safety right now. Like, he put on there to take him with him, so he's not. I don't necessarily think that he's going to be left alone, but Alfred's got to be a very vulnerable target because of this measure. They're going to come at, like, villains will target Alfred now that they know who Bruce Wayne is
I
and
didn't
that
think
he is
about that.
Batman.
Huh.
And now Superman and Damian by proxy just basically signed his death warrant. So it's one of those things. It's like cause and effect here, folks. But so I would not be surprised if that happens. I don't know Alfred's status throughout these comics, but now I'm like, when he was going, like he was leaving Bruce's side and he was gonna walk up those steps, I was imagining like I'm gonna turn the page, he's gonna open the door and just get blasted right. Like that's what I was thinking was gonna happen. That obviously didn't happen, at least not in this chapter or this issue that we read. But yeah, so now I'm like, oh, how long does Alfred have? Because unless Bruce can hide him, he's not in a good spot either. Okay, well let's move on to the next chapter. We have Superman and his team confront Batman at the Batcave. It's Superman, it's Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and then Flash is on the ground. So Batman comes out of the Batcave. They're having a discussion with him. He tells them to leave, and that he doesn't have Hot Girl anymore because that's why they went to go. That's why they went to go talk to him, is they wanted Hot Girl, and he says don't have her. Apparently, she's now back at the Watchtower. Lex confirms this by having her put out a match or whatever, just to prove that she's not Martian Manhunter in disguise once again. And then Batman goes to walk away. Flash stops him and says, "You can't walk away from me." And then, as they were trying to make sure that Hawkgirl wasn't Martian Manhunter, they pulled the old Texas switcheroo and once again fooled me. I didn't expect this. I didn't see this coming.
I did not see this coming at all.
Another great Martian Manhunter moment. Batman just starts to fly away. And I was like...
I still didn't know it then. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was
Batman can fly.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, jet boosters, what has he got there? And then it took me a second, like, when he disappeared, that's when I was like, oh, okay, now it looks like something's fishy here. And then, then they come right out and say that's Martian Manhunter. It's another great Martian Manhunter moment. And this is actually a fantastic... Martian Manhunter is just he's like Green Lantern, he's like Flash. So far, every scene and everything that Martian Manhunter is being a part of, even though he's only been in there for like a couple issues now, it's just been awesome, so...
Oh, well, he's kind of... The reasons I like Manhunter are much of the same reasons I like Doctor Strange. He's good without qualification. He just does altruism so well.
So we get some great stuff here. He starts talking. He basically disappears. Green Lantern's trying to track him down using his ring. And Martian Manhunter shows himself, knocks Green Lantern out. Wonder Woman goes to save him. And he takes this opportunity to try and appeal to Superman's senses. He says, I understand what you're going through, but you need to understand what your future holds. This is why because Superman's questioning why did you turn against me? Why are you teaming with Batman? And he just explains, I've been through this kind of situation before. I've seen what happened with my worlds, when people rule like this. And speaking of like the White Martians, and he's kind of showing Superman his visions and kind of paralleling to what Superman went through. And things seem effective. Like, not that Superman's changing or anything, because it's very short and very brief, but the way he's going about this is, I think, a really solid approach to, if you're going to appeal to Superman, show him what this is going to lead to just by past experiences that Manhunter's been through and why he's choosing what he's choosing. But unfortunately, it gets broken up by Wonder Woman. She puts the kibosh on it really quickly, just knocks Martian Manhunter away, so they get in a scuffle. And this was badass. So she goes to grab onto Martian Manhunter, and he says a line of, you never trusted me. We're both aliens, but you chose to go with the one that looks more like you. And meanwhile, he's just starting to surround Wonder Woman. He's like going inside of her, like in her mouth and everything. He's like going into this like liquidy kind of sluggish, almost like a symbiote form. And he's going into her mouth. He goes inside of Wonder Woman. Meanwhile, he's still talking to her, and he's saying, "I'm inside you. I can strangle your organs, this and that." And she freaks out, and she just tells Superman to burn her. And that's the only way to get him out of her like that. And that's what they do. Superman burns the crap out of her. He kind of comes out of her because he's vulnerable to fire, as we know. And he almost disintegrates, it looks like, into like a skeleton kind of like form. Well, at least part of his body does. And then he falls into the water, and that's the last we see of him. As far as I'm aware, Martian Manhunter does have a healing factor. So I don't think that's the end of Martian Manhunter, but they didn't cover it. They just kind of left it there, and it was a question mark, is he dead? But yeah, that was one hell of a vicious attack by Martian Manhunter, but not in like a very visually gruesome way, but in a very methodical way. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was very much not fucking around anymore. This is real.
Yeah,
and honestly, all he was trying to do was communicate to Superman. That's all he was trying to do.
But he sees what they're willing to do, and he, looking into Wonder Woman's thoughts, he also mentioned that he sees that she's really changed and she's much more violent than she had been before.
Well, she's scared to death that Superman's going to come to his senses. That's why she reacted so horribly. It's just like, I think she knows if anyone can reach out to Superman, it's probably Martian Manhunter or Batman, one of those two.
Absolutely. That's why she shut Aquaman. The whole Aquaman trying to say, sorry about Lois. She didn't even mention that. She's doing all the little things. It's just another example of it.
Yeah, just like even Damian and Superman are both kind of like, wounded victims who are motivated by pain. Sure. Wonder Woman is just, she clearly is a misanthrope. She hates humanity, and she finally has a device to do something about it. and she's cultivated herself into this awful thing. And it's good and bad. Dramatically, it's good and bad.
Sure.
They can make it work, but we'll see.
But yeah, so we're left off there on this chapter. Martian Manhunter falls into the water, and we see Batman looking on from the distance with binoculars just to see what happens. So that's where we kind of leave off there with that chapter. And then the last chapter of this issue kind of takes a break from all of that and kind of sets that aside, and it does a flashback, or it's kind of like a telling from a current state, flashing back from that character's point of view. And this was kind of, it was very close to the Flash chapter that I really liked and that you really liked as well, where him, kind of the whole him and Galaxer and how they kind of wrap that all up. This is very similar to that. Maybe not quite as emotional, but it still, kind of had that warming feeling. I put down here, kid crashes. He crashes his bike. Superman tries to help him. He tries to fix the tire. He ends up making it worse because the whole super strength thing. And so that was funny. He had his classic outfit on. This was supposedly happening 6 years ago. The kids, it's just Superman in his classic form, red underwear and all, the cape not attached to this giant like Superman symbol chest plate on his, like, I love this classic Superman look. It made me miss it so much. And I'm not too much of a stickler on the Injustice costumes. I think some of them are really hit and miss, but man, this just made me miss the classic Superman.
That's a good. The symbol looks really good, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I guess I can break it down a little bit further, because I did have just overall thoughts on the chapter. But to break it down further, he helps the kid. He flies him back. He's holding the bike in one hand. He flies him back to his home. The kid wants to fly even more, so he says, "This isn't my home." And Superman catches on that he's just trying to, fly around more with him. So he goes for it. Superman, being the ultimate nice guy, he does so, drops him back at home, and then goes and stops some criminals. He's very nice to them. He notices they don't have bullets in their guns. They even apologize because they respect Superman, but they were just being desperate criminals. So they take off the mask and they run away. So there's that kind of cool, just seeing, more than anything, it just made me appreciate how far Superman's come, like psyche-wise, and just how he goes about things. This shows a very kind, a very forgiving Superman, a very patient Superman, and one that's obviously emotionally intact and very, it's night and day from what we're dealing with now, and I'm sure we haven't even seen the worst from Superman. But it was just very heartwarming seeing this classic Superman in his loving form. We see him interacting with Lois. He goes back to the kid's place and interacts with his mother, who didn't believe that he actually saw Superman that day, and gives him a new tire. That's pretty much how it ends. But it ends with the kid's thoughts coming back to, he's the one that's narrating the whole time, we find out. And he just says how much he looked up to him, and he misses, the man of yesterday, because Superman's always the man of tomorrow. Metropolis is the city of tomorrow. He says he misses the city of tomorrow, which obviously there is no city of Metropolis anymore. And he misses the man of yesterday, because that's how Superman used to be. He doesn't like the way Superman is anymore. He doesn't like that, in his situation, Superman wouldn't even take his time helping out some kid that just crashed on a bike, because it's just Superman's going full crazy watch over crime mode type of thing. So it was just a nice, heartwarming chapter. So like I said, it wasn't quite to the emotional impact and quality of the Flash chapter, but I really did like this chapter.
The chapter, I did like it too, but for me, it's not a chapter. It's part of the issue.
Sure.
So I thought I was reading someone's flashback. I'm like, okay, maybe this character is someone I know. Mm-hmm. And then it just ends, and I realized it's pretty much just a reprieve from the story.
Yeah.
So it felt really disjointed to me, but I do like it. This is, God, in many ways, this is the best issue, but it also has some of the biggest problems. But yeah, we don't have to go into that yet. I guess my first question would be, do you think Martian's dead?
No, I don't think Martian Manhunter's dead there. If he died there, it would be for a noble cause, but I felt that was a little anticlimactic. It was a hell of a moment, what he was, how he was infiltrating Wonder Woman, and, what he was trying to do for like turning Superman, like trying to get his mind straight. But I thought it was too quick, and I thought unless the next issue is mourning, Martian Manhunter dying, like you need follow up on that to really make me feel like if they just move on and it's not really addressed other than we don't know where he is, then yeah, then I might be a little scared for his fate. But I think the way it is, I Martian Manhunter can regenerate from like a hand as far as I'm aware, so he should be fine.
Well, it's not that I disagree. I think logically he should be fine,
Yeah.
but I feel like the fact that he's not in the Injustice storyline or the story mode, the goal of the writers was to kill him eventually. So if
But
they don't
we
kill
got a
him
few years
now, they
left.
kill him later. Yeah. I mean,
Batman
it's so
needs
weird.
him. Batman needs a powerhouse on his team, and Martian Manhunter is just a great character. I would hate if they wrote him off so soon, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, no one's taking out cities with Black Canary Scream. I mean, you need a
Yeah.
little. I agree. Honestly, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of tired of the Damien stuff. Like, I want Damien to take some fucking responsibility. I mean, he didn't only just kill Alfred, or just try to kill Alfred, or just accidentally kill Alfred, however you see it, Alfred.
Sure.
But he did it after stealing technology from Superman. Like, he's just not a very good person overall.
No.
Damien just does not work, in my opinion. I don't understand what makes this character anything. Like, I don't get the Damien character at all.
So far, him and Wonder Woman are definitely making themselves out to be the worst people. I mean, Superman's done some things, but I think we can still see Superman as a victim in all this, whereas I don't really see Damian as a victim, and we don't really see Wonder Woman as a victim. So Superman still has that slight sympathy factor going for him to where we feel like he's just not all there right now, so that's why he's making these poor decisions. Like I said, the giving away Batman's identity is the one thing that really has pushed him even further for me. Him killing a bunch of drones and him killing the Joker, to me, doesn't make me think less of Superman. It just makes me think he's stumbling right now, but he can regain his way. Whereas Damien, yeah, he doesn't. He's just the spoiled little brat douche that's causing tons of issues. Way like one accident out of his led from his anger issues. He's taking that accident and instead of turning it around and learning from it and growing from it, he's just continually making more accidents happen because of how far he's just going with it. And Batman's not helping, but I mean, you can't really blame Batman for somebody killing, leading to us basically his other son's death. Maybe not biologically, but Dick was very much whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes, I agree with all that. Wonder Woman just works. Honestly, she does work well as a villain, but I don't want them to revert back to she's still Wonder Woman, because she's not. To me, she's not. Wonder Woman's pretty much a monster at this point.
Sure.
And she's using Damien. She's lying to Superman, and she's basically trying to find excuses to kill people. Not a big fan of her, which is a good thing. We have a good villain.
Yeah, and that's
let's
what I'm
hope
saying,
they know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is right now we definitely have specific people that are the nasty people. Like, I don't really wish anything horrible to happen to Superman at this point. He hasn't gone that far. Like I said, the whole Batman identity push, that was a very low blow. But I still don't want to see Superman ripped to shreds. But Wonder Woman and Damian are definitely getting to that point where you're just like, you love to hate them because just they're just they're pulling those strings and they're manipulating for their own favor, or they're just continually making bad decisions where it's not warranted because they're not victims. So yeah, they're definitely pushing to the front of the line of the actual people that are the main villains thus far. Whereas Captain Marvel, the Flash, Green Lantern, so far they're just following orders and continually raising an eyebrow. They're not good for following it, but they're not the ones making those decisions or leading the charge. So they're just they're the people following a bad crowd at this point. They're not villains per se. They're just following that bad decision making. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how far this evolves going forward. It'll be interesting to see how each character, where they keep going along those lines and those shades of gray. Do they get darker? Do they get lighter? Do people change sides? What happens with Wonder Woman? Does she just continually stay that way? Does she ever second guess herself. We'll see, I guess. I don't know.
We're definitely seeing a point where Superman perceives disagreement as offensive.
Sure.
Like, he cannot stand the fact that Batman is not going along with him. And now we're starting to see the person who killed Shazam. We're starting to see the person who basically burned a hole in a child's head. Like, that. Like, disobedience.
Spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, spoilers, yeah.
Jesus.
R.I.P. What?
Come
I thought
on.
we spoiled that many times already.
Come
Have we
on.
not spoiled that many times?
No. No, I was only on the another cast, but I don't know.
Oh,
Either way,
okay.
let's try and avoid that. And I don't recall 98% of what happens in the game, so I'd appreciate not having things
Nope,
spoiled.
got you. We'll edit this out.
What? Now you're just signing me up for things. Anyways, let's just keep moving forward in this regard.
I still know how you forgot that. I had that burned in my mind.
Dude, that was 5 years ago, 4 years ago when the game came out. I don't know, it was forever ago. But either way, let's move on.
Gotcha.
We're belaboring this point. So let's wrap up this issue, though, so we can move on to the next one. We talked quite a lot about this one. It had a lot of good things. I definitely was one of the stronger issues of the bunch. I'd say it's definitely top 3 thus far, for me personally. But this is only 10, so onward and upward, as they say. And we'll catch you with issue 11.
Cool. Take care.
Yep, see ya.